I woke up slowly, feeling the warmth of sunlight on my face. My arms felt strange, heavy, and tingling at the same time. When I lifted them, I saw marks I had never noticed before. They were not bruises, not cuts, not scratches. They glowed faintly, like thin rivers of light running across my skin. I touched them carefully, almost afraid to make them disappear. A soft voice broke my thoughts. "The transformation has begun," it said. I turned and saw her an alien princess, taller than anyone I had ever met, with eyes that shimmered like the night sky. She smiled, calm and patient, like she had been waiting for me to notice. I wanted to run, to scream, to ask a million questions at once, but I couldn't move, not yet. The marks on my arms pulsed gently, almost like they were alive, and I felt a strange connection to her words. "You are far from where you were," she said, her voice kind but firm. "But distance does not have to be empty. You are here now. You can change." Her words made me think of someone I had left behind, someone human, someone I cared about more than I had admitted, even to myself. Since they moved away, it felt like a part of me had moved too. Letters came, sometimes calls, but they felt distant, like I was trying to speak through a thick wall. I wanted to reach out, to say everything I felt, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if the distance had made the connection too fragile. I stared at the marks on my arms, tracing their glowing lines. Strange as it was, they reminded me of that person, like a map of our shared memories and a map of the future we could still build. I swallowed a lump in my throat. I began, but the words felt weak, so I stayed silent. The princess knelt down, close enough that I could see the stars reflected in her eyes. "Fear and sadness are natural," she said, "but they are not permanent. Transformation is not only about what changes in you, it is about what you can give, what you can reach for, and who you can become." Her words were strange, almost alien, but they struck something deep in me. They reminded me of the letters I never sent, the calls I didn't make, the conversations I had let slip away. Maybe transformation could mean reconnecting, to not just with myself, but with the people who mattered. I thought about the first day I had met that person. I remembered the sound of their laughter, the way they noticed small details about me, the way they made ordinary days feel extraordinary. And now, here I was, with glowing marks on my arms and a princess telling me I was beginning to change. I realized that maybe the transformation wasn't only physical. Maybe it was emotional too. Maybe it was the courage to reach across the distance and be seen again. I swallowed and tried to speak again. I want to reach them, but I don't know how. The princess's smile deepened. "The first step is always the hardest, but you will find the way. Humanity is remarkable. Your species has a strength that is not always obvious: hope, creativity, persistence. Even when you are far apart, you can find connection." I nodded, though I didn't fully understand yet. She stood and held out her hand. I hesitated, then took it. A warmth spread through me from her touch, and I felt something lift inside. It was not magic. It was something human, something deep and unbreakable. It was hope. We walked slowly through the chamber. Light shimmered off the walls in soft colors, and I realized I was seeing patterns and details I had never noticed before. My mind felt sharper and somehow calmer. The marks on my arms glowed a little brighter. "Why me?" I asked softly. "Why this transformation? Why now?" "Because humans can change worlds," she said simply. "Not just with strength or speed, but with heart. Even when separated, even when hurt, you find ways to reach out. You adapt, you survive, you care. That is your power." I thought about that person again, about all the words I had left unsaid. I thought about sending a message, picking up the phone, writing a letter. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of courage. Maybe I could reach across the distance. Maybe I could rebuild what I had feared was gone. The princess paused in front of a mirror-like surface. I saw myself reflected, arms glowing, eyes wide, heart racing. I saw fear, yes, but I also saw determination. I saw someone human, struggling, yet capable of more than I had ever imagined. You will face challenges, she said, but transformation begins when you accept yourself and what you can do. Even small steps matter. I nodded again, and this time I meant it. I felt the pulse of light on my arms in sync with the pulse of my own heart. Somehow, it was a reminder that change was not only possible, it was happening, and I could choose to embrace it. I took a deep breath. I will try, I said. I will reach them. I won't let the distance keep us apart. The princess smiled, gently, like she had expected nothing less. Then the transformation has begun, she said again. Not only in your arms, but in your heart. You are ready to move forward. I looked at my glowing arms and smiled back. Strange as it was, those marks had become a symbol not of fear, not of separation, but of hope. I would find the courage to reconnect, to bridge the distance, to show the person I cared about that we were not truly apart. For the first time in a long time, I felt the future waiting, full of possibility. And I understood, finally, that transformation was not just about change, it was about growth, and about the uniquely human ability to reach out even across the stars. I looked at the princess once more. The transformation has begun, I whispered, and I meant it. Asterisk after that morning in the glowing chamber, I felt different. Not just because of the marks on my arms, which continued to pulse softly, but because something had shifted inside me. I had hope. I had purpose. And most importantly, I had a feeling that I could reconnect, not just with the alien world I had awoken to, but with the human person I missed so much. Still, the distance weighed on me. I wandered through the palace-like corridors, trying to absorb the alien architecture. Smooth walls glimmered faintly, and the floors reflected light like water. Even with all the wonders around me, my thoughts returned to them, the person I had left behind on Earth, the one whose laughter and kindness had always grounded me. The letters I hadn't sent, the calls I hadn't made, haunted me like ghosts. Stopped at a small alcove where soft light fell on a pool of shimmering liquid. The alien princess appeared beside me. "Do you think of them often?" she asked. She didn't need me to answer. She could sense my thoughts. Her presence was calming, but also unnerving. "Yes," I admitted. "I feel distant. I don't know if they remember me the way I remember them. I don't know if I can ever reach them again." My voice trembled. I don't even know how to start. The princess placed a hand on my shoulder. Her touch was warm, almost electric. "Distance is only a test," she said. "It is not the end. Humans excel at connecting, even across impossible divides. Your species does not give up easily. That is why you were chosen." Her words reminded me of all the times humans had overcome enormous challenges on Earth storms. Sickness, wars, even space itself. I thought about explorers, inventors, and ordinary people who refused to quit. Somehow, that knowledge made my sadness feel lighter. Maybe I could reach out. Maybe I could take the first step. I returned to my quarters and tried to write a message, but my hands hesitated. Each word felt small compared to everything I wanted to say. The marks on my arms pulsed as if they were encouraging me, urging me to act. I stared at them, tracing the glowing lines, and whispered, "I can do this. I have to try." The next day, the princess guided me to a training hall. Not a place for battle or weapons, but a place to practice control over my body, my mind, and my new abilities. When the glowing marks first appeared, I had feared them. Now they were a tool, a reminder that change was possible. Today, the princess said, we practice focus, control of energy, and control of self. To reach someone far away, you must first master yourself. I nodded, and the training began. At first, I struggled. Small bursts of light from my arms sparked uncontrollably. I lost balance, stumbled, and nearly tripped over my own feet. Frustration rose, and I thought about giving up. But then I imagined them smiling, waiting, trusting me in ways I had forgotten. That thought alone steadied me. Step by step, I gained control. I learned to guide the energy pulsing through my arms, to channel it with thought and intention. I discovered I could sense subtle vibrations in the room, almost like feeling the presence of others without looking. The marks were no longer frightening, they were a bridge. And suddenly, I understood. I could use this power to reach someone. Across great distances, even across worlds. The princess watched quietly, her eyes full of understanding. You are learning quickly, she said. Humans adapt better than almost any species. You feel deeply, you think creatively, and you care. That combination is rare. Later, during a quiet moment, I sat on a balcony overlooking the alien city. Lights shimmered like stars beneath me. I thought about the person I cared for. My chest ached, but it was different now. Sadness was still there, yes, but it was joined by a determination I had never felt before. I decided to try something. Simple message, nothing grand, just a letter to say I remembered, that I cared, that I wanted to reconnect. Even as I wrote, I worried. Would they read it? Would it matter? But I refused to let fear stop me. Humans had crossed oceans and mountains to reach one another. Surely, I could cross the invisible barrier between us. When I sent the message, the glow on my arms flared brighter, as if approving The glow on my arms had become steady now, almost like a heartbeat of its own. It reminded me of the connection I had begun to rebuild with the person I cared about. Each message back and forth, each small sign of their attention, gave me courage. But even as hope grew, I felt the lingering sadness of distance. I still didn't know if I could fully reconnect, if the bond we shared would survive the miles and the changes in both of our lives. The alien princess noticed my hesitation. She led me to a large training hall, its walls shimmering with patterns of energy that seemed to move with thought. Control comes first, she said. Not just of your abilities, but of your mind and heart. To bridge distance, you must be steady within yourself. I nodded, unsure what she meant at first. I had been thinking of the person I missed, and my emotions had been tangled. Hope, fear, sadness, longing. How could I focus on them and control the energy in my arms at the same time? The training began. The princess instructed me to lift my hands, concentrate on the glow in my arms, and direct it to a small orb of light hovering in the center of the hall. At first, nothing happened. I willed the light to respond, but my emotions distracted me. My heart pounded, my thoughts scattered, and the orb flickered weakly before fading entirely. Frustration bubbled up, and I wanted to give up. I thought of the person I cared for, and wondered if they would even understand how hard this was, how much effort it took to reach out, to keep trying. My sadness made my chest ache, but then I remembered the first letters I had written. I remembered the courage it took to send the message that had begun to reconnect us. I took a deep breath and tried again. This time, I focused not on fear or doubt, but on hope. I pictured them clearly in my mind, imagining their smile, their voice, the way they always noticed the smallest details about me. I let the energy in my arms respond to that feeling, letting it flow naturally instead of forcing it. Slowly, almost hesitantly, the orb of light began to move. It shimmered, then grew brighter. My pulse matched its rhythm. For the first time, I realized the transformation was not just physical, it was emotional. The more I connected to my feelings, the more control I had over the energy. The princess observed silently, her eyes full of approval. "You are learning quickly," she said. "Humans are remarkable. You turn emotion into strength, and in that, you are unmatched. The distance you feel is real, yes, but your determination can cross it." I practiced for hours, directing the light with increasing precision. Sometimes it faltered, flickered, or vanished entirely. Other times it responded perfectly, moving exactly as I intended. Each success filled me with hope. Each failure reminded me that patience and persistence were just as important as talent. During a break, I sat on the edge of a platform overlooking the city. Lights twinkled below like countless stars, and I felt a strange connection between the world beneath me and a person I cared for far away. It was still a challenge, still frightening, but I realized that the distance was not permanent. I could reach across it, little by little, just as I was learning to reach across the currents of energy pulsing through my arms. The princess joined me, sitting quietly at my side. "You feel sadness because you care," she said. "That is human, but the courage to act despite sadness, that is extraordinary. That is your strength. Never underestimate it." I nodded. Her words sank deep into me. I thought of all the humans who had faced impossible odds, who had kept hope alive even when everything seemed lost. Somehow, I felt connected to them, as if their resilience had been passed down to me. My own small courage felt larger, more capable, more meaningful. The next exercise was more difficult. She placed several floating orbs of different sizes in the hall and asked me to direct the energy from my arms to all of them at once. At first, I couldn't. The energy splintered, the lights flickered, and I felt overwhelmed. I thought about giving up, but then I remembered the person I cared about. I remembered how I had refused to let distance stop me from sending that first message, and how they had responded in kind. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and imagined their presence. Not just as a thought, but as a feeling, a thread connecting us despite miles of separation. Slowly, carefully, I let the glow in my arms divide, flow, and connect to each orb. One by one, the lights responded, brightening until the room shimmered with their collective glow. The princess smiled, and I felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the energy. "You see," she said softly, "even when challenges seem impossible, humans find a way. Even across distance, even when hope seems fragile, your spirit can succeed." For the first time, I understood that the transformation was more than light on my arms. It was about perseverance, creativity, and care, the things that made humans special. I realized that I could face distance, loneliness, and doubt, and still reach out to the people I loved. That evening, as I sent another message to the person I cared about, I felt a sense of calm determination. I wrote about the day, about my experiences, about the strange glowing marks on my arms. I didn't know if my words would fully convey everything I felt, but I wrote anyway. And when I pressed send, I felt something new, the quiet power of hope, the knowledge that connection was possible, and the courage to continue trying. The response came faster this time. Their words were full of warmth, gratitude, and curiosity. They asked about my experiences, about how I was feeling, about the small details I had always shared. I realized that even though miles separated us, our bond was growing stronger, not weaker. I stood on the balcony once more, watching the alien city glow below. My arms pulsed softly, steady, and bright. I felt the transformation in every fiber of my being, not just the physical glow, but the emotional growth, the courage to bridge gaps, and the uniquely human determination to connect with others. The princess appeared beside me. The transformation continues, she said. Not just in your arms, but in your heart. You are learning patience, persistence, and hope. You are becoming more human in ways that matter across worlds. I smiled, tracing the glow on my arms. I understand now, I whispered. A transformation is about connection, about reaching across distance, even when it is hard. About hope, she nodded. Exactly. And that is why humans are remarkable. Never forget it. I looked out at the city lights again, thinking of the person I cared for. Though they were far away, I felt closer than ever. Distance could not break what was real. I could reach them. Step by step, message by message, heartbeat by heartbeat. And with the transformation guiding me, with courage and hope, I knew I would succeed. I whispered to myself, softly but firmly, the transformation has begun. And this time, I felt it in every part of me, heart, mind, and glowing arms. A light dot. The days in the alien palace passed differently now. The glow on my arms pulsed steadily, a quiet reminder of the transformation and of my ability to grow. I had learned to control it, to focus it, and to use it as a bridge, not just to this strange world, but to the person I cared for back on Earth. Messages had started to flow more easily between us, small but meaningful. Yet, even with these successes, a heavy weight pressed on my chest. Distance was not just physical, it was emotional. Every day I worried. Had they moved on? Did they still think of me as I thought of them? I felt frustrated at my own fear, frustrated that I couldn't simply be sure. One morning, the princess appeared with a new challenge. Today, she said, you will face the test of uncertainty. It is designed to strengthen what is already within you, the patience, courage, and perseverance that make humans exceptional. I followed her to a large chamber, darker than the training halls. Shadows shifted along the walls, and floating orbs of light hovered in midair. The princess explained, each orb represents a possibility, a choice, or a path. Some will respond to your energy, some will resist. You must navigate them without losing focus. This is like reaching across distance. It will not be simple. I stepped forward, hesitant but determined. I thought of the person I first cared about, of the small connections we had begun to rebuild. I thought of the letters, the calls, the tiny steps that had carried us closer despite the miles. I realized that this challenge, strange and alien as it was, mirrored the struggle I faced in the human world. Connecting with someone far away required the same qualities: patience, creativity, courage, and unwavering hope. I touched the first orb. It flickered and resisted my energy, pulsing weakly. I focused, letting my feelings flow naturally through my arms. The glow intensified, and the orb steadied. One by one, I moved from orb to orb. Some were easy, responding quickly to my energy. Others resisted stubbornly, flickering and dimming no matter how I tried. Each time, I felt the pull of frustration. But then I remembered the words of the princess and the determination of humans who had faced challenges far greater than mine. I refused to quit. Hours passed in the chamber. Sweat ran down my face, but I continued, guided by the thought of reconnecting with the person I missed. The glow on my arms responded in kind, brightening and flowing more smoothly as my confidence grew. I realized that each orb I mastered was like a small bridge built across the distance I feared. The princess observed quietly, her eyes reflecting pride. Humans often face uncertainty, she said, and yet, even without knowing the outcome, they act, they persist. That is why your species has survived. The next morning, I woke with a sense of determination that I had never felt before. The glow on my arms pulsed steadily, like a quiet heartbeat, and I knew that today would be important. The princess had promised a trial test to prove the strength of my transformation. I didn't know what to expect, but I felt ready. Part of that readiness came from the connection I was rebuilding with the person I cared about. Each message, each word, reminded me that hope and persistence could bridge even the widest distance. The princes led me to a vast arena, open to the sky above. Strange structures floated mid-air, shifting and rotating in ways that defied logic. The challenge, she explained, would test my strength, my mind, and my courage. You must face obstacles and make choices under pressure, she said. But remember, your humanity, your creativity, compassion, and determination is your greatest strength. I took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first obstacle appeared immediately, a wall of shifting energy, glowing and crackling, blocking my path. My first instinct was to push through with force, but the wall resisted. Then I remembered the lessons from the chamber, the orbs, and the glowing marks on my arms. Patience, focus, creativity. I reached out with my energy, letting it flow naturally, following the pulse of the marks on my arms. Slowly, the wall parted, letting me pass. Beyond the wall, a series of challenges awaited. Floating platforms moved in unpredictable patterns. I had to leap, balance, and time my movements carefully. At one point, I stumbled and nearly fell, my heart racing. I imagined the person I cared about on the other side of the distance, smiling and encouraging me. I steadied myself, breathed deeply, and tried again. My hands glowed faintly as energy surged through me, guiding my steps. I landed safely, my pulse echoing the rhythm of the glow dot. Next came a puzzle of light and sound. Orbs hung in midair, each emitting a tone. I had to arrange them in a sequence to open a path forward. I paused, uncertain. The orbs flickered impatiently, as if aware of my hesitation. I thought about the distance I had felt with the person I cared about the misunderstandings, and silences that had grown between us. Then I realized something. Just like the puzzle, relationships required attention, creativity, and careful thought. I let my fingers trace the sequence of tones, guided by intuition, patience, and memory. Slowly, the orbs aligned, producing a harmonious chord. A doorway opened. I stepped through, my heart pounding, but my confidence growing. The final challenge appeared, a dark corridor filled with shifting shadows. Shapes loomed, whispering doubts and fears. You are too far away, one shadow said. They have moved on. You cannot reconnect. Another whispered, you are not strong enough. You will fail. I froze, my hands trembling. For a moment, I felt the sadness of distance, the fear of losing the person I cared about. But then, I remembered every small step I had taken, the letters, the messages, the glowing marks, the lessons from the princes. I remembered that humans persist, even when the odds are against them, even when hope seems fragile. I took a deep breath and let the glow from my arms expand, filling the corridor with steady light. The shadows retreated, unable to withstand. The brightness of courage and hope, that at the end of the corridor, a figure appeared. It was the princess, smiling, her eyes full of pride. You have faced fear and uncertainty, and you have persevered, she said. You have used what makes humans extraordinary creativity, compassion, and determination. That is why you were chosen. I stepped forward, exhausted but triumphant. The glow on my arms had stabilized, stronger and brighter than ever. For the first time, I felt fully in control of my transformation, not just the energy in my arms, but the courage and determination in my heart. Later, I sat on a balcony overlooking the alien city, breathing deeply, feeling a quiet joy. I thought of the person I cared about and of the messages we had exchanged. They had written back, sharing their own struggles, their own fears, and their own hope. Reading their words, I felt the distance shrink. Step by step, message by message, the connection between us had grown stronger. I realized that the trial in the arena was a reflection of life itself. Obstacles, uncertainty, fear, they were inevitable. But humans had a unique power, the ability to face these challenges with courage, creativity, and hope. Even across vast distances, even when sadness and doubt weighed heavily, we could persist. That night, I wrote to them again. I told them about the trial, about the challenges and fears I had faced, and about how I had overcome them. I didn't know if my words could fully capture everything I felt, but I tried anyway. And when I pressed send, I felt a surge of hope, a quiet but powerful certainty that connection was possible. The reply came quickly this time. They wrote about their own struggles, about missing me, about the uncertainty and fear they had felt. And they told me they were proud of me, even from across the distance. Reading their words, I felt the warmth of connection, a bridge growing. Stronger between us. The princess appeared beside me once more. The transformation is not only in your arms, she said softly, it is in your heart. Today, you have proven that you can face challenges and persist. That is what makes humans extraordinary. That is what makes hope real. I looked down at the glowing marks on my arms and smiled. They had guided me, strengthened me, and reminded me of the courage that lies within every human being. I whispered softly, the transformation has begun. And this time, I truly felt it. Not just the glow on my arms, not just the lessons from the princess, but the bridge I was building across distance, the connection that no miles, no fears, and no obstacles could break. The arena, the trials, the city lights, they all felt alive, reflecting not just the alien world around me, but the power of humanity. I realized that our species had a unique gift, the ability to hope, to persist, and to reach out even when the path is difficult. I thought of the person I cared, about imagining them reading my words, feeling my presence across the distance. And I understood that the transformation was not complete in the arms alone. It was complete in the courage, patience, and hope that defined who I was. For the first time in a long time, I felt unshakable certainty. The distance could be crossed. Step by step, message by message, heartbeat by heartbeat, I could reconnect. And with every effort, I was proving the remarkable strength of humanity, not in spite of the challenge, but because of it. I looked at the glowing marks one last time that night. They were no longer strange or frightening. They were a symbol of everything humans could be, persistent, courageous, and full of hope. I whispered softly, the transformation has begun. And I meant it fully and completely. Asterisk, the morning after the trial in the arena, I woke with a calm determination I had never felt before. The glow on my arms pulsed gently, steady and familiar, no longer a strange warning but a companion. I had faced obstacles, uncertainty, and fear, and I had emerged stronger. Yet, my thoughts immediately went to the person I cared about. Though the distance remained, my hope had grown. Step by step, we had begun to reconnect. The princess appeared. Beside me, her presence serene. Today, she said, you will explore the final stage of your transformation. Not just control, not just courage, but understanding. You must see how far you have come, and how far your humanity can reach. I followed her to a wide terrace overlooking the alien city. The lights shimmered like countless stars, reflecting in the calm waters below. Transformation, she said, is not just what happens to your body. It is what happens to your mind, your heart, and your choices. Your ability to connect, even across distance, is part of this transformation. I closed my eyes and let my thoughts drift to them. I remembered the first day they had moved away, the sadness I had felt, the long silence that followed. I had feared the distance was permanent, that the bond we shared might weaken. But now, with every message exchanged, with every effort to reach them, I felt the connection growing stronger. Not weaker. The princess guided me to a floating platform, suspended in midair. Orbs of light hung around it, each representing an emotion, a choice, or a possibility. You must combine what you have learned, she explained. Control of your energy, patience, courage, and the human ability to hope. Focus on the one you care about and let that connection guide you. I stepped forward, feeling the warmth of the glowing marks on my arms. I focused on them, imagining their face, their voice, their laughter. I let the energy flow from me, not as a force to control, but as a bridge to carry my thoughts, my feelings, my hope. The orbs responded, moving in harmony, creating a path of light across the terrace. I realized then that the transformation was complete. The marks on my arms were no longer strange or frightening. They were a reflection of my heart. They glowed. In response to my emotions, to my desire to reconnect, to my human courage, the princess watched quietly, smiling. You have reached this point because of what makes humans remarkable. Your ability to hope, to persist, to care deeply. These are your greatest strengths. A sudden challenge appeared, a series of moving platforms over a shimmering void. I hesitated. One misstep, and I could fall. But I thought of the person I cared about and the messages we had shared. I thought of the letters I had almost never sent, the calls I had almost avoided. I felt the pull of hope and courage rise inside me. I stepped forward. One platform, two platforms, my energy.